If you enjoy listening to inspirational stories from people just like us, facing the fear and doing it anyway, then you're in the right place. My name is Claire Hill, and this is the No Rest for the Vivid podcast. Hello, welcome to another episode of No Rest for the Vivid with me, Claire Hill, and I have a wonderful guest today, Ellen Allen. Ellen is an old school friend. Well, actually, which you find out in the episode, I wasn't friends with Ellen at school really because she was far too cool for me, which she denies, but it's very true. And we just have an amazing chat in this episode. It's a long one, and that's why I've decided to publish it over Christmas and New Year, just so that you get a little extra time for you to listen to it. It's worth every minute though. Ellen is amazing. She runs 2 small businesses, both with an amazing mission and purpose, and it's all about skin and placentas. I'm gonna actually just leave it there because it's so interesting. But please enjoy, and if you well, not please, but I hope you enjoy it. Not begging you to enjoy it. But if you do enjoy it, please subscribe and share. It helps me grow the podcast so much. And the bigger the podcast gets, the better the guests are. So I'd love to hear your feedback on this one. Enjoy. Good afternoon, Ellen.
Hello. Hello.
How are you?
I'm really well. How are you?
Yeah, fine. I always find these fake hellos are so funny. But because we've been chatting, because we used to go to school together, so we've just been chatting, and it's it feels weird not to say this is a really proper fake hello, but hello, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
You're very, very welcome. For those people that don't know who you are, please introduce yourself.
I'm Ellen Allen, and I run a couple of companies local to Medway. I run a company called the Placenta Connection, which provides placenta pills and other placenta remedies to people that have just had their baby to help them with their recovery. And kind of linked to that, but separate, is a company called the Skincare Connection, which I make natural skincare for people from newborn all the way up to, all skin types.
Amazing. And actually, I was thinking of you because I've lost my pot. I need to get some of your universal balm because I've got another cold sore around my nose yet again. And I was just thinking, oh my God, I need some of that balm, and I haven't got any. So
it is the time of year for red noses, not just Rudolph.
I don't know if you remember, this time last year I had the same, but I had that one that was proper covered my nose, and I managed to stop it spreading too much because I literally was getting that universal balm and just
I remember it was so painful,
but it's all scarred my nose there, and now that's where they just come up there. But what can you do? No one's perfect.
No, exactly.
I just get cold sores all over my nose. But anyway, let's stop talking about that. How did you? Well, I'm just so excited to have you because I think you're hilarious. We saw each other out in Worcester the other day. For those of you people listen to this podcast that are in America and Australia and that, so you don't know where Worcester is, but it is the home of Charles Dickens. And we were out, and I saw you, and it's knowing obviously we went to school together, and I used to be really good friends with your sister Jenny, and it's just so nice to then, it was like a full circle thing. And I think we sort of came across each other on Instagram. Obviously we did, because that's where because I know Jess that lives one road along, and you know Jess, but you also know Stacey, and I know Stacey since she was 10, and it's this whole full circle thing. And then you were I said, I'm going to buy some balm, and there you were at my front door, and then we chatted in the car for ages.
Yeah,
and now you on the podcast.
I know, it's lovely. And I think for those that aren't local to Medway, I lived in London for 10 years, and then when I got married, moved back because I realised I needed to be by the help. And and I found it so nice it makes you feel a part of a community when you bump into somebody from school, or connecting on Instagram, that type of thing. I actually love that. It really makes my day, it makes my week, it makes me feel it makes me feel good. I really like that. That's what I like, living in the Medway towns.
I love living around here. There's a lot of bad press about Medway, but
there isn't many places in the world where you're so close to London, so close to the beach,
agree.
so close to country.
I agree.
And actually, specifically in Medway, we have a really good thing for like kids. Like we've got loads of trampoline parks, shopping centres, like actual parks. And
I agree. And I think that shows in the way we were brought up as well.
Yeah.
Like I was used to go dancing every night. I was a ballet teacher for years, and by the age of 14 or 15, my mum let me get the train up to London to go and do ballet classes or something like that with maybe like an older girl, one of the 16-year-olds or something like that. But the bottom line is you are only 40 minutes on the train, and then you build up the confidence. You know, I always think about people that don't live close to, obviously, you know, don't live close to a city centre. You have to build, you know, I think that's why, you know, there's a great music scene in Medway, there's a great student scene. It keeps the town really young. I love it.
Yeah, I love it too. I love it too. Oh, it's nice. So you just said you were a ballet teacher for a very long time.
Yeah.
And now you're running your own businesses. Didn't you run your own dance school?
I did. Yeah, I had started my own dance school in 2012, and then just set that up from scratch. The first night was a Thursday night in the village hall and had 2 children.
Wow.
And then I sold it. I loved it. I loved all of that. You know, I know you're used to be a teacher. I love children and young people. I love teaching and learning, and that whole process. I find it really inspirational, and really I find it like instant feedback obviously is great.
Yeah.
And I sold that in between my 2 children. Yeah, it was in Surrey, so it was like an hour away, and the juggling of that was just getting, you know, just didn't need it.
Yeah. So how did you do, like, where you are now with the placentas and the skincare? Like, how did you get into that?
Okay, so between so I had Buddy, had a bit of a rough time with Buddy. In the birth was you know, not what I would have liked, but I didn't do any preparation for it. I was one of those people that just said, "Oh, he's got to come out, hasn't he?" That type, and which lots of people are, and for lots of people that happens. Yeah, exactly. For lots of people that happens, and that's great. But for lots of people that doesn't happen, and then that impacts further on down your life, and that's what had happened to me. And so when I became pregnant with Juliet, I looked into ways to recover my body and heal my body naturally. And that was in my financial kind of, you know, remit. A postnatal doula, I didn't know much about, but you know, that type of thing, postnatal help. I might have if I'd have known. But anyway, placenta pills came up, and there was like a kind of a big like chasm of people like Kim Kardashian doing it. We shan't say her name this week. And people who were like doing it in their kitchen, dancing around the full moon and putting it in their airing cupboard. And I kind of I knew I wanted them, so I'd have to like choose one of those options. But then, so I did, and I had placenta capsules with Juliet, and I felt absolutely amazing. I loved every second of my time with her. There's lots of kind of lovely little anecdotes. It was the Winter Olympics, and I would be up in the night feeding her, and I'd watch the Winter Olympics. And then my older sister would say to me, "I'm just watching the, you know, curling or whatever." And I was like, "Yeah, I watched it live last night." You know? But I look back on those times so happy. You know, I'm not so single-minded as to think like the second child issue is a thing. Obviously you're much more relaxed, you do know the times pass, and you know you're not going to be breastfeeding in, you know, forever and a day, even though it feels like it. I just felt really steady, and for me that, you know, that is a comforting, you know, comforting feeling. So after about, you know, I finished taking my pills, and I thought, you know what, I would like to offer a service that was the kind of service that I would like to receive. So that would be like from a person like me. There are people who've got disposable incomes that they'd like to invest in themselves postnatally. So I trained, there's like some weird wacky training, and there were like aspects of the training that I was like, that's not going to work for me and my family. For example, doing it in a domestic kitchen. So during that time, my husband built me like a clinic in my back garden, kitchen, whatever you want to call it, but it's a safe space away from my home. It's secure and stuff like that. And that was that. And on Juliet's first birthday, I think I submitted my training essay, and I'd done my first placenta by her first birthday. I also trained for a 10K that year, which I've never done since. Barely done 10 meters since, and never done before. So I felt incredibly focused that year she was born. I mean, it's a joke now because I went and did it at the Olympic Park. So it wasn't like Ramboat Park type vibes with people wearing feather boas. It was actually people who was part of a running club, and I really had got it totally wrong. And I said to Bob, like, do not come to the start line with me because I'm so nervous. Just like bring the kids maybe like an hour later. And I was like, literally just like, oh God, Ellen, you've really done it now. You've just really got this totally wrong. This is not a fun run. And anyway, I did it. And I got round, but I was literally like fourth from last.
Oh God. That's the thing. When it's not a fun run, you don't have that, I'm just going to walk the rest.
Absolutely horrific.
Oh.
And I've got this picture, like Buddy still says about it now. Do you remember that time we went up to the Olympic Park? I was like, yeah, I remember.
Oh.
And it was like November.
Well done for finishing. Well done for finishing.
But I mean, it's funny now, but during those training runs, I did feel incredibly focused, and like, my life had changed very quickly. I got married and had children very, very quickly, like within 18 months. And so my whole life had changed a lot. So, I used to be really focused on those runs. Anyway, I started the Placenta Connection, and I was kind of like steady, busy. My first goal for my first year was to get one client a month. And I did that in the first year. And then my second year was to get 2 clients a month. And then the second year was kind of, I think I beat that in the second year. Probably I was maybe getting 3 a month, maybe 4, 1 a week. And then COVID happened. So I was still teaching a little bit. And the school that I was teaching at said, we're not having any peripatetic staff coming at all, obviously. Like no one coming in and out. And I thought, okay, this is gonna impact my life. I need to be at home. My husband's in the fire brigade, so I needed to be at home. Juliet was still only 2, and so I trained to do cosmetic formulation and skincare formulation, which I used to have kind of along with the placenta stuff. I provide, if you'd like, I can give you like an oil that is steeped in your placenta powder, and you can use that on your hair, your face, on your baby. And I used to do other products, and people were like, oh, can I try your mother and baby balm? But I don't want any placenta in it. And I'd be like, yeah, you can. It's illegal to sell placenta cosmetics, so you wouldn't anyway unless you were booked in as a client. But I can make you something that, that hasn't got any placenta in. So people were like really loving on that. And I was like, okay, I need to stop these messages coming through saying I don't want any placenta, because for a lot of people that really freaks people out, understandably. So I started the Skincare Connection, and I had some wages left over. It was like, I launched it on the 1st of April, so it was like a week after lockdown. And I just thought, I've just got to bloody do this. I've just got to. And I designed I look back on it and it's just so embarrassing. I was terrible at art at school. It's really just not my thing. And I did all my own labels on Canva. It's just embarrassing now. But
we've all been there. We've all been there.
And like, I look back on that first month and everybody was just so supportive. And obviously everybody was fantastically supportive of everybody in lockdown, weren't they? Like it was, it was a terribly scary time, but you know, in that respect, there was a lot of good vibes. And Bob used to get home from work at like 9, and I'd like go out in the dark of the night to deliver skincare to people's front doors and just like leave it on their front door like some kind of hobgoblin of like, it was weird, but like I to look back on it, like, because it was good. I used to be like escape from the house because I'd been in all day. It was just a crazy, a funny time, and so now they're kind of two separate entities that kind of occasionally cross over, but I run them totally separately now.
Wow. And going back, like, I love that. This is the thing with COVID. There's so many. I'm not, you know, taking it away from how disastrous it was to the economy, to people's families, to the infrastructure of the NHS, all of that. However, there has been a lot of good come out of it in regards to like people going, do you know what? I'm just, like you said, I'm just got to do it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, just.
And obviously when the going gets tough, the tough get going. Yeah. And that is, you know, lots of positivity does come out of adversity. And it was a really difficult time. Like, as I say, my husband's a key worker. I barely saw him for 3 months. So you kind of just had to get into our own groove at home. You know, I didn't really know what I'd do. I'd never retailed a product ever. I didn't know anything about retail at all. I mean, I worked in Miss 60 for 2 years and I absolutely loved it, but it's not the same.
Miss 60, love it.
Oh my God, I love it. It's my favourite job ever. But I've only ever sold myself as a commodity, and I've only ever been a service-based business. So for me, that has been my steepest learning curve, is learning about retail. You know, for about 3 months, I had got no idea what kind of profit I was making. I got no idea how much a little mini balm that you buy for £8. I had no idea how much that was costing me to make. And I mean, probably my sister will listen to this and be like, "Oh, for God's sake!" But that's how it's kind of a bit how I've always ran my businesses, you know. Obviously, and then after a while, my husband did say, just sit down for half an hour and do it, because that's all it will take. It's not like you don't know what to do. It's not like you don't know maths. Just sit and do it, which, you know, is a bit, I'm sure you're a little bit the same. It's very difficult just to sit down and do something.
Oh, 1% factor. I have to get that out. But yeah, no, I think some things, if they're a bit boring, it's hard for me to do things that I find boring.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
There's no excitement. Yeah. Like, I love making money. I'm not making money. Well, I suppose indirectly.
I agree. I always say that to people. That is where I get off. Yeah.
And also, like, I was thinking when you were saying about how many clients you wanted per month and that, having that KPI, because from what I get from what you were just saying, I said KPI, like key performance indicator, that you're saying you were focusing in on, and at first, of the women that you wanted to help, because that's your mission with the percentages.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think that's a really, and I'll just say that now, because you can have a mission and be really invested in helping people as at exactly the same time as loving making money, because that is
definitely,
you know.
And I tell you what, Claire, and I don't know if anybody from the birth world will listen to this, but there seems to be a huge problem with people who they kind of make out like they're doing it for free in the birth world, you know, like they're doing it out of the goodness of their heart. Well, I'll probably get vilified for this, but lots of people don't really like me in the birth world anyway, but because I'm
you're a truth teller.
Yeah. You know, like, you're not doing it for free. We've all got mortgages to pay. So, you know, it's okay to lead, to be of value. It's okay to be strong about your value. It's okay to give one service away for a year, which I do that. Don't talk about it. I don't, you know, that's because that makes me feel better. But I can't do that. If I could afford to, I probably wouldn't do it on anything apart from go to yoga or something. But, you know, if we've all got kids at the table that need dinner, And that's the bottom line of it. So like pretending you're all in it to, you know, just help each other or just for the joy of a piece of art, that's just unrealistic. And people, I don't actually think it's genuine. And people find it disingenuous.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's where the culture of pricing and in the handmade, you're like, well, it's I was talking to somebody about this earlier. I had somebody on the podcast earlier that was talking, you know, Natalie was talking about sustainable fashion and stuff, and and that fast fashion movement, it changes the culture of how much you expect to spend on something, because you're not showing the value. And with my wire art and with my coaching and services and all of that, I love doing it. And I think that's the thing, if you love doing something,
definitely
it doesn't feel comfortable like pricing it. But running a business isn't comfortable, so you just have to get on with it. Like, you've got to price yourself.
And I think you went into you don't go into teaching for the money ever.
No,
you do not go into teaching for the money. You go into the teaching because you like working with young people and children, and you like the experience of teaching and learning. So when I started a ballet school, I knew I was the most expensive in the area, and I never put my prices down, and I just never did. And I'm not never ashamed of that. I know placenta specialists that have started and they've come straight in undercutting me by 50 quid, and it just doesn't. I just think, you know, it's like probably going on to further questions we'll talk about, you know, it's important to like stay in your lane and stay confident with what you're providing and stuff like that. And, you know, I know my clients get a bloody good service, and that's enough for me, you know. And if somebody comes to me and says, can you do it cheaper because so-and-so does it for whatever, I always say no. And I always say, please, you know, ensure that they're registered with their environmental health department. Please check that they'll come out to you 24 hours a day. You know, you're working with people at an incredibly vulnerable time of their life. It's a huge privilege to be a part of it. I see it like that. And, you know, if you really want to go and get it done for 150 quid, please do. I'm genuinely happy you're having placenta capsules. I am.
Yeah.
Another client will come along.
Yeah. And it's about, like you say, staying in your lane and being, and I think it's just having the confidence. Like, I know for a fact that my wire art is one of the most expensive. And I did see someone, I don't know if she listened to the podcast, but I saw another wire artist, and she was doing a $5 Friday, and she was selling something that would a bit minimal for me would probably cost about 45-50 quid, and then she would sell it for $5. And I messaged her and said, and I'm really sorry if you are listening to this episode, because you are, because I messaged you. When I said, like, how can you do it that cheap? And I really, all of me wanted to say, by doing that, you know, you're undercutting the whole industry, and you are making life more difficult for not only yourself, but for hundreds of other makers out there that see you. She's got a bigger following than me on Instagram as well. All these makers see you and think it's okay to do that. What you're doing is ruining the industry and forcing people to not follow their heart and do what makes them happy. You're forcing them back into a job, because you cannot sustain a living by selling like that. You can't. No one can. So but when I said it to her, she went, oh, I got some free wire, so I thought I'd make them use of it. And I thought, well, unless you can make that in 5 minutes, you're still not paying yourself anything. You can't make that in 5 minutes. If you can, it's not going to be the quality that someone, but then it's the ideal customer, because you want somebody that, like, they're giving a bit of their body to you. Literally.
Definitely.
They're giving you a piece of their body. You want the best out of it, you know, the best experience for them, to make sure it's, you know, looked after. And you want to invest in that. If you want to buy some wire art and you are going to put it up for 5 minutes and then goes in the bin, spend $5. My wire art lasts a lifetime. So up to you, isn't it?
And also it depends on, like, my mood or where I am in my cycle and loads of other things. Sometimes I can lead forward with a positive heart and be like, all right, good luck with your $5 Friday, you poor thing. Or other times you're like, that's outrageous. But you still, whatever road you go down at that point, you still come to the end point, which is you have to let people get on with it.
Yes.
And you have, you know, that's just how it is.
Yeah.
There'll always be people like that. There'll always be terrible teachers who still come out with a wonderful Ofsted. There'll still be terrible midwives who still, you know, it's just how it is, isn't it?
Yeah. And I feel like I've just sort of stepped back on my own thing of saying, staying in your own lane. And really, because I was straight away, it's like, it's not my business to know it's not my business to have your opinion of my business, whatever the saying is. And it was probably wrong of me to talk about that wire artist, but I really want people to understand that when you undercut, it's not the impact on you. And it's this culture of you just devalue everything. And I'm really sorry if that was you. I do think you're a really lovely person.
No, don't feel bad, because people are making business decisions all the time that they think is right. We've all made mistakes. She might never do that Fiver Friday again.
I hope she doesn't. It'd be the best thing ever if she doesn't.
Yeah, she probably won't, or she might, and you just have to meet her stories.
But I find, it's true. I find that, and I don't know about you, but if I see something, like, I'm just like, obviously with what I do with the Vivid Club, I'll see someone and I'll just like, I just really want to shout, just say to you, look, listen, come here, love. Right, I'm just going to give you a free half-hour pep talk about how you can look at this differently. You're probably going to make 10 times as much money, but people don't want to listen to it.
They don't, and they don't get there until they get there, Claire.
No,
and I don't even know if I'm there yet, or I'm there on different things and not there on other things, or sometimes, heaven forbid, my actual husband would pass a comment on something and I'd be like, what do you know about being self-employed?
Yeah.
You know, and I've never been employed ever, never had a salary.
Wow.
And he's like worked for the man forever, so we were like in very different places, but his input is important, because it's a different, I should be much more open to listening to other people's opinions, but it's so personal, your business, so personal. And to open yourself to hear what other people have to say is, you know, a lot.
It's vulnerable.
Yeah.
Because you have to hear whether you think someone thinks you're doing it wrong. And I'm automatically like, anyone says that, I'm like, yeah, but you don't really understand though, do you? Like, I might ask Danny's opinion. Oh yeah, but you don't really get it. You don't. You know, if you're having a bad day, like, you still get paid.
Like, God, why did you even ask me?
Yeah, don't ask anymore. But, it's training yourself to go. Or if people offer, like, again, if I'm offering, this is the thing, I'm the worst one for it, because I just want to help everyone. Which, look at me, martyr. But it is like, I just want to help people.
What you're saying.
And if people say stuff to me and I just think you've got no clue, or it's from the dark ages, I go, oh, that's very interesting. Very interesting. I'll take that into account, throw it straight out, but not in a like horrible way, but in a.
No, you know, but I had something the other day. I don't know if this customer will listen. And about 3 months ago, so I just embedded, so I do all my website myself, like I'm sure you do. It's like I've never done anything like that before. I've invested a lot of money into learning about lots of things. Sometimes I think, oh God, that was a waste. And other things were like worth their weight in gold. So I just embedded a review widget, like what they call it, onto my WooCommerce, onto my WordPress site, and like people were coming through with reviews, and a couple of people had done video reviews, and it was like going really well, and I was well chuffed with myself. Like, basically I'm like Steve Jobs, like coding my own website.
Well done.
And then so that was all good. And then like a customer messaged me and was like, hi, just to let you know where you've put your reviews, like I was scrolling for so long I thought I was on the wrong page, and then when I got to the end of the page was your shop. So I'd put the reviews at the top, and then like the more reviews that were coming through, they were all just going to the top of my shop. So people were having to scroll, especially if you was on mobile, like it was. And then I was like, well, okay, well, thanks for that, but I'm doing it all on my own. And it's like, you idiot, Ellen. Like,
oh my God, I've had that too. It's like, Jobsworth, stop telling me. All right, thanks.
Yeah, and but she was right, and I actually knew she was right, because I knew it was really inconvenient to scroll through that. it's hard enough to create a decent customer journey anyway, and then people having to scroll through tens of reviews about a baby massage oil that they are literally not interested in. So then I did a 20% off this weekend, and another customer, she was a Placenta customer, she also went to school with her, she was a year above us, Natalie Gardner, and she messaged me and she was like, hey, I've just put an order through, but just so you know, when I was on the shop page, I thought I was on the wrong floor. I thought, oh, sod this. I'm going to sit down and bloody well do it. And I just should have done it 3 months ago. And I worked out and I Googled, and then you go on the Word comment on the, WordPress blogs. And, there is a lot of help out there for you. If you just knuckle down and do it. And then I put them on a review page so that's what people, and I'd done it. And then she was like, yeah, it looks great. It's just such, it's just,
annoying.
It is annoying, but she was right. And I just should have done it in the first time. And, your friends and stuff get a bit like, just love everything you do. Yeah. And that's great, isn't it? That's a lovely feeling. But sometimes, it is good for somebody, just have a website rehash once a year or, sometimes my Instagram posts probably aren't as pretty as they could be, or but lots of times, like Claire, when you're a mum, you're literally posting lying down sideways in bed, with one eye on your pillow, one ear listening out for a child's door to go. I'm
just
not
juggling.
You're just juggling. Yeah, exactly. You're just really just trying your bloody best.
Yeah, always. But that's the thing that I spoke about this yesterday, and it's like the reason why it feels so tough is because you want to do a good job. Like if you wanted to be shit, like Jackson's behaviour this recently has been a bit shit, and I just said, like, my Dan was like, oh my God, I just can't wait for this phase to go. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, but you know why it's so hard? It's because we want to create a good human being.
Absolutely.
You want to create a good business. You want the best for your customers. Yeah. That's why it's hard. If you wanted to be shoddy, it'd be well easy.
Exactly. You're thinking about it all the time. You're thinking about how you're mothering all the time. You're talking with Dan about how you're parenting together. You're thinking about Vivid Wire. It's a lot. And, it will pass with Jackson because it does. But it's like when you train to be a teacher, isn't it? Like any kind of reflective practice is really a good thing. It's a good habit to get into. It's a skill to learn, isn't it? I mean, I remember once putting Buddy to bed at 4:45, tea time. Yeah. And me and Bob sat out like in the garden till like 1 o'clock that morning, like having a bottle of wine, just talking about how we're gonna manage things. And and he's an absolute angel, really. It wasn't even. I was probably just like really pissed off after a long summer holidays or something. Yeah. And it's the same with your business. So you give it the time, you invest your time in it, like you do your children, and you have to, you watch it grow. Sometimes it's another thing that it's really a wiggly path. It's really a wiggly path.
And it's so funny that you said that about like I was talking to one of my clients yesterday, and I said, like, your business, you've got to treat it like it is a child, like you've got to nurture it. And it also linked to, like, we've been having difficult morning with Jackson, and the morning routine, I had it like bang on, like really good. We call it half and half, and we share, because we've only got him at the minute, we share like I take him down, give him his breakfast, start it off, then Dan can get ready, and then we swap. So it actually benefits all of us, because we get that time on our own, and I'm really grateful for that, because I need that in the mornings. And like the other week, he got ill. He was ill for like nearly 2 weeks, and I've got ill. I'm just literally recovering. So it's like nearly 4 weeks of all this, and Dan had some homeless counts, so he was up weird times. It was just all whatever.
And if one ball drops,
that's it. So it's just November. November does this all the time, and I get cold sores. It's the bloody month.
Anyway. It's funny because I find that about September. I find September incredibly overwhelming. Yeah.
I remember your stories talking about that, actually, because of Juliet going to school.
And I'd planned it, and I really had like cleared the diary. And you know what? Right, here's a story that I haven't told very many people, but September is the busiest month in the year for births. and due to Christmas conjugals.
Yeah.
So and this September I didn't have one client, and I've not gone a month without a client since I started, right? This is just so weird, right? And Stacey from IV to May Photography said to me,
big up Stacey.
Yeah, big up, because she said this to me and it totally reframed how I thought about September. And she was like, that is the universe's way of telling you to have your diary clear, to keep your mind free, because your youngest is starting school. And I was literally just like, wow, yeah. And I did. And I really focused on Juliet, and that was that. And you know, it's funny how and life went on. And then the next month I was like absolutely whacked out crying because I'm so tired of so many clients. It's just like, that's how it goes, you know. It's weird. That was really weird.
But it's about recognize. Then that's the thing with business, because it's a phase. It's just a phase. The same as a kid. And when we were going through these morning routines, Dad went, what are we got to do? We've got to change things. And I went, but babe, we've not been consistent with what we've already done. Exactly the same as business. You start panicking when you're being consistent. Oh, it's
exactly
not working.
The same with
and you change. And I bet it is. It is.
It's the same with anything. Eating well, going to the gym. Yeah. You know, it's the same. And you like what you like. I love doing skincare, and that's why I'm consistent with it. Most of the time I like doing parenting. That's why I'm consistent with it. I don't really like going to the gym, so that's why I don't go. Or I might go back for 2 weeks in a row and then that'd be it. That, you know, and you have to ride the wave when you feel it come in. I think when you feel the momentum, like I can always tell with people, you know, Jess from Little Yoga Warriors, or Stacey from IV to May Photography, or me, or you can feel when people are riding the wave. They feel strong, they feel energized to post, they feel energized to do Instagram stories. Some days I'm just like, like the last thing I want to do is go on Instagram stories. So some days I don't. Some days I think you've got to show up, you know, especially people are buying from you, you know, they're not buying from Elamis or Liza or whatever. My business is so small that they're actually buying from me because they like me, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
From different kind of sales things I've done, you know, I can see that that's where my sales come from. If I do an Instagram live, for example, I can get like 5 or 6 sales just from doing 20-minute Instagram live. Whereas I might go somewhere where nobody knows me, and certainly nobody knows the brand, and not make a single sale. So that's I mean, I'm really going all over the place, but
that's good.
You know,
but I think it's true. It's of having like, I recently am just keep thinking, like, not just because we feel uncomfortable or things are quiet or and when things are quiet, the reason why people panic is because it feels uncomfortable. But Stacey's bang on. I totally agree with what she said. And it's like, we're exactly where we need to be. So whether that is, okay, like, again, one of my clients, she's had a really, really tough, like her headspace went all a bit wonky. And I was like, no, actually, this could be the best thing that's ever happened to you. Why are you putting a negative spin on it? Don't judge it for what it is. It's just the fact that you're a bit lacking in energy. And then, you know, it's like bouncing back. Whenever I'm like that, the offset of it, I make the most money. Is stronger. I come up with these ideas that transform the businesses. And it's just, so now I had a big vulnerability hangover a couple of weeks ago because I did this like a podcast episode. It was really vulnerable. And Bex listened to it, actually. She was like, God, that was really vulnerable. And I was like, yeah, I know. I was literally in bed. I keep getting these awful periods, literally in bed for causing it, because I was just like, in that moment, I was like, I've got something to say, I need to say it. Had this vulnerability hangover, and then in it, I was like, I'm exactly where I need to be. There's something that's going to happen, like, and just recognizing this could be the best thing that's ever happened to me. And I had this business thing, and it's all just been amazing 2 weeks after. So it's like, but it's accepting that it's just what it is. You know, like, we just go,
and also
things are bad.
You cannot be on in everything.
No.
You cannot be 100% in everything 100% of the time. That's unachievable. And I've always had a thing about setting yourself achievable goals, because that's how you build confidence in yourself. It's the same with children, it's the same with teaching. Like, I always go back to this story. I had this boyfriend once, and he was like, right, this week I'm going to run 10K every day, give up smoking and give up drinking. I've been like, yeah, why are you doing that? Because you're going to get to Friday and you've done none of those things. And you're just going to feel really bad about yourself. So,
yeah,
you know, I've always carried that through. You know, there's no point in like getting a little girl in her first ballet lesson and expecting her to skip by the end of the lesson. You just want to be able to pick up one knee and then the other knee, and that's cool and that's fine. And it's the same with business. You just want to make one sale.
yeah.
And like, I've a PT friend of mine called Ryan. He shared this thing about these little frogs going up the stairs. I don't know if you've seen it. It's like a ladder, and like one ladder's got like massive gaps between the rungs, and like the frogs are like jumping out, can't get to the thing, and then the next ladder along's got like loads of little rungs, and all the frogs are making it up the rungs like slowly but surely. And like, it's about setting achievable targets for yourself, and then you can go to the next one and the next one. And I found in my first sale I did, I was like, it was a revelation to set a sales target. I was literally like, what? Wow, okay, let's just pick a number out of the air. I did. I just was like, let's make £500 this month, this weekend. And I did. And so that was great. But like, the next one, I don't know, probably went up to 800 or whatever. And it was a revelation to me to even think of doing something like that. But I think because I was always just so grateful that somebody would press like pay on my website. It's just, but that I didn't just go in straight away and like, right, I reckon I can do £2,500 this weekend. It's just like,
just increasing it slightly every month.
Yeah. And some, I don't have a sales target for every month because it is it's a kind of, I'm not a retail expert, and like beauty and skincare is quite a kind of difficult market to be in, really. It's just like surrounded by such heavy hitters, it's just like when you're watching I'm Celebrity, like the new L'Oreal Retinol, it's just like you're not even anywhere near that. And did you see my story yesterday about having a Royal Mail postal bag? So I remember seeing yours. I actually remember seeing yours and thinking, one day
but you can. You know why you can? I know you can. I was going to message you and say, no, you can, because you can order them free off the website. You just register as a click and drop, take them to the sorting office.
I am a click and drop. Yeah.
So I'll send you the link to have your own bags.
Yeah.
So what do you do? You go there with them then and tip them out? What do you do? Send them to the post office?
Yeah, go to the post office. I've got to be honest with you. The post office is kind of like a security blanket for me. So I'd never be bothered, or I'm never organised enough to keep my click and drop card topped up. And it just is reminiscent of like all the times I would be standing in the post office with Juliet as a baby on my hip sending placenta pills, and I quite like it. Like, I'm literally on first name terms with Shrewd Post Office, which I love. Like, talking about community and connection like we did at the beginning, I actually love it. I actually love it when they say to me like, all right, Ellen, you've had a good weekend, or there's another lady that does this type of thing, and hers, I just love all of that.
I love that. We had with my post office, it just got to the point. My post office at the bottom of the road is so tiny that I would come in with like 4 massive IKEA bags of all the boxes, and they were like, where the hell are we going to put these? So I had to move to business, and then I didn't qualify because basically I send enough parcels, but to get free pickup, you have to have a certain amount of tracts, because that's where Royal Mail make their money. And I was like, well, that doesn't make it's more expensive anyway, blah blah blah.
Fair.
No, it's not fair. Then I got really scared. They were like, oh, are you going to pay for the pickups? And I was like, oh no, I'm not going to do that. I'll sort it out. And then I got really scared about going to the delivery office. It's so stupid, right? So I print all my labels, and I was getting panicky. So I was like, oh, I'll just drop them in the post office. Got a call from them saying, you haven't done any posts. Like, is everything all right? And I was like, yeah, no, I've just been putting in the post box. You are not allowed to put your click and drop in the post box. You are not allowed. I was like, okay, so basically I'd be charged for it.
Yeah.
We have to scan your manifest, blah, blah, blah.
Oh,
I was manifest, like, okay, all right. So I rang my father-in-law. I was like, Chris, we're going to do it today. We're going to go to the delivery office. Can you come with me? And he's like, yeah, okay, I'll come with you. Walk in. I was so worried. This was literally a month ago, by the way.
Yeah.
I was so scared. I was like, I've just got some posts. They were like, yep. Oh, have you got the manifest? Yeah. I said, is that it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like,
yeah.
Okay, walked out. I was like, that was so easy. What was I worried about?
It is really easy, but I'm never organised enough to top up my
No. But I know with the post office, like I've still got the receipt of the very first order I sent with Vivid Wire.
Have you? That's lovely.
It was the 18th of March 2019, and I've still got it. I think it's in my purse. I'm going to frame it and put it up actually, because it really and I remember exactly what it was. I made Theo. It was an Etsy order from somebody who was.
Are you still on Etsy, by the way?
I am, but I've not made a sale in a year.
Okay.
Because of all the wire artists that are much cheaper than me. So, I keep it on there. I think I'm going to come away a little bit, but that's another story. And but the going in there with Jackson, because I was in maternity leave, tiny baby, and now when I've taken him like down the shop. Yeah, like, hi Jackson, they've known him since he was like 3 months old.
Yeah, and now I'm like flying in at 2:30 with like my makeup done just before I go get the kids, because they've not been in my face all day. And they're like, oh, she let one start at school. I'm like, she has.
What do you do with all the time now?
Oh, there is no time, Claire. Well, I do enjoy it. I've got to be totally honest. We went to Winter Wonderland last week, and after a couple of gin and tonics, my husband was like, "You're so relaxed the last couple of months, babe." I was like, so I feel more relaxed. I feel like I'm enjoying being a parent way more.
Oh, that's good.
I've always like the choices I've made in my kind of career I pretty much do most drop-offs and pickups, which I feel a huge sense of privilege, a huge sense of gratitude for, and I love it. I'm like an unapologetic, like, I can be a bit of a scummy mummy sometimes, but like that rhetoric doesn't always kind of gel with how I am. Like, I do take pride in having dinner ready for them, and I do really want to try all the time to be the best mum I can, which is intense. It can be really intense and has its own, its own issues to deal with. But I love it. I love picking them up. I just love seeing their faces. I know.
Love it. No, thank you. I love it. No, I'll tell you that it's one of those things, like, for me, what happened, having my childhood, it makes me feel like a whole human being. And this isn't for everybody. You just got to do what's good for you. But if I manage to finish at 4:30 and dinner is basically on the table for when the boys come in, it makes everything just run so smoothly.
I agree.
Like everything feels so good. Yeah. And I created that life. And I think that's where, from being in teaching, like I worked for a year in teaching with Jackson. I was still feeding him when I went back to work full time. Absolute nutter. Working 5 days a week as an assistant head teacher with a 1-year-old, feeding him and whatnot.
Yeah, it's a lot.
And it impacted my mental health so much, because I just was constantly feeling like I was letting everybody down.
Never succeeded at anything.
Yeah, never. And this is when, like, he's awake. Sometimes I do the odd making in front of him, and he says he wants to be a YM artist. But I try as much as I can to, like, this is work. Up there, I'm mum and wife.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm not like the screen police, or I'm not like scrolling on Instagram all the time, because I do.
No. Yeah.
But and they like, some afternoons Juliet might come straight in and just wants to zone out on her iPad. That's cool. You've been at school all day, you poor thing. Yeah, just chill out, mate. Under the I'm really relaxed like that. But the type of thing, like, I would have to wait till she'd had a nap so I can go out to my unit and chop up a placenta, or like I'd have to drive to Pembury Hospital, which is one of my local hospitals, and I don't know why I'm always falling into this sense of security that it's half an hour to Pembury, because it bloody isn't. It's like over an hour.
Yeah.
Especially if you get stuck behind a tractor or something.
Yeah.
And like she would be in the car with me, and I'd either like time it around a nap, or I couldn't time it around a nap because that's the nature of the job. And I'd feel, I mean, I have to be honest, this is a whole nother podcast, but I don't suffer from mum guilt.
No.
I don't know. I really try my best not to inflict that upon myself. Anyway, I'd think, oh, God bless her, she's been in the car seat for an hour, and then we're just going to drive straight back to Rochester, and, you know, we haven't really done much this morning. Nothing bad has come from that.
No.
At all, ever, you know. So that's that, you know. But now I don't have that. I can drop off, I can go up to the hospital, I'm more relaxed, there's a bit more breathing space. It's just more breathing space, and there's more breathing space in your head. Now they're both at school, but it's not to say there's not other challenges, you know. There's always something around the corner, and they're always ahead of you, always. Always ahead of you.
Oh, I love that. Like, honestly, you're I think, why have we never gone out for a drink?
I know it's true, you should.
Well, or coffee now, like ladies at lunch or whatever.
Exactly.
But no, it's really interesting, because I think a lot of the time I like that it feels like very blended for you, and it's all quite balanced, and I think that's what we all want to achieve, isn't it, with all parts of everything. And what's really good, like the best thing about being self-employed for me is when Jackson has been poorly, I don't have to ring anybody up and beg for time off to look after my poorly kid. And
I can't imagine that. I have got friends who work with 2 or 3. I've got friends who put their children back into full-time childcare at 6 months. I've got friends who are at home and don't work at all. Whatever you're dealing with at any time is difficult, but to have to ring up and say, you know, have you seen that in the reel or TikTok that's going around at the moment saying about paying for childcare, and then your childcare calls you and says your child's got cough, so you've got to go and pick up your childcare and you're not getting paid. It's like
yeah, but you still got to pay for their childcare.
Still got to pay for their childcare. Yeah, you know, it's a huge, whatever, you know, it's a huge juggle. And I feel like, you know, being in the birth world, seeing different people's different life choices and birth struggles and stuff like that, you're just so empathetic to whatever anybody's dealing with. I try to speak, you know, the right way, but for a lot of times it falls to the women, you know, in heterosexual relationships to take the burden of that on. And whether they take the burden of it on physically, i.e. like staying at home, or mentally, it's like a huge challenge. It's a huge challenge. And the balancing of it is something that is like a learned skill, I think.
Definitely. And going back, like recognising with Jackson being poorly, like I had to do all the school tours, and Dan has just had so much on, and it's like, I think I did make a good point to him. It's not that he didn't understand. He don't listen to my podcast, you know.
No, that's fine. Bob never watches my stories or Instagram stories or anything. Yeah.
My father-in-law listens though, but you know, whatever. Chris Hill's the best. But he I was doing the school tours, and you know, like getting there, you do the tours an hour, you come back to about 2 hours next September. And I said I was working. He went, "Oh, do you really having to work tonight?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm just really fortunate that because I had to spend 2 hours on the school tour today that you can't go. I actually have to fill in other times." And it was a bit like oh yeah, shit. Like there's 3. I had to do 3 school tours, 2 hours each. That's 6. That's a whole day. Where am I supposed to? I've got to still do that work. Same as when Jackson's poorly, but I can do that. But it's everybody recognising around you. You can be flexible, but that work's still got to be done.
But you still got to be working till 10.
Yeah.
And then you've had no time. I mean, especially before she was at school, there'd be nights I'd be in my unit doing orders, doing placentas. And some weeks would go by, I'd be in there every night till 10 o'clock.
Oh, yeah.
And then that becomes like a comfort blanket as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
You kind of get into your groove of being on your own. And I'm people in the birth world listen to all sorts of crazy podcasts. I just basically put on The Previous Night's Trevor Nelson, and that's what I listen to. And, like, you know, and I was like getting into my own groove about, you know, putting the kids to bed and then going straight out there. It's weird. I mean, working on your own is another podcast on its in itself.
No, and I totally agree with you though, because like I getting in the groove when I'm making the days when I'm making, and I'm like, yeah, I've got some really good podcasts, or I've got some like TV to watch, or I've got an album I want to listen to, or whatever.
I've not gone so far as to watch telly while doing the Placenta yet. I mean,
no, I bet not.
I'm pretty quick, but
no, well, I did the last night I worked because Dan was working last night, so I was like, do you know what, I'm gonna I treat myself to making some Christmas bits while watching EastEnders. That was a treat, but I feel like I love making so much. It actually is a treat.
Yeah, that's lovely. How lovely.
Yeah, I always design my Christmas things just in case it goes crazy, where I do have to, because sometimes you're making 12 hours a day. But oh, this has been good, isn't it? Literally, people listening. So. It's literally just two people having a chat. That's what I always wanted.
I know. Podcasts are good, I think, for mums and women.
Yeah,
I think it's a good way to kind of keep your hand in out. You know, if you feel lonely or alone, or I really like podcasts, and you know, there's always people to recommend. You know, sometimes reading a book just isn't it's just totally impractical. Like somebody asked me to join a book club the other week, and I was like, thank you so much for your invite, but I haven't read a book since 2015. I mean, that's an exaggeration. I probably have read. I do try, you know, but nothing like I used to read.
No.
And like I can feel guilty about that if I want, or I can be like, I must go to bed every night and switch off my phone and detox my brain and read a book. Yeah, I could do that, but actually I don't want to. So, you know, only like the last year on holiday have I felt, with the children being like 7 and 4, have I felt like I could relax so much that I could read and enjoy a book.
Yeah.
You know, so that's why I think podcasts are like, you know, there's a lot of talk of self-care, and like that's another thing I won't get into because I think it's like another patriarchal thing that's just been made up to get women.
It's not self-care. It's meeting your basic needs. You're supposed to be doing it anyway. Yeah.
If you want to have your nails done, have your nails done. So yeah, but like listening to a podcast makes you feel connected to I think, and you know, that's why my business is called it what it is, because being connected is really important to me. So
yeah, and I love like listening because it makes you feel like I come up with loads of ideas just literally talking to people, but also like obviously this bit, but I listen to podcasts because somebody might say one sentence and it sets my brain off going all there, there and everywhere, and I come up with ideas. So I've learned that not all my ideas are my ideas to keep. I'm better because I can't do everything, so I share them out. I really got
into Stephen Bartlett, and then he had Piers Morgan on, and I just couldn't listen to him again.
Yeah, I do like I did listen to Stephen yesterday with Louis Theroux. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know he'd done a Louis Theroux. Oh well, I will listen to that.
Yeah, he's done that, but I do like him, but he does it to wind people up. He does the controversial interviews.
Well, I listened to Matt Hancock, Karen Brady, like that one.
Yeah, I like Karen Brady's one. Yeah,
I liked her one. His voice is very, very quick on a podcast, isn't it? You have to kind of tune in to.
He does that on purpose.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I
to
saw
make people concentrate.
Yeah.
Wow, Claire, that's fascinating to me.
Yeah. Because there was somebody on there that I listened to about speaking, and he did
because I haven't thought once about my own speech in the last 25 minutes.
But you've been talking really fast, so people listen.
Put me on 1.5 speed.
Love it, like audible. Oh, I love it. So we have gone well over time, but this is a good investment. Hopefully people have invested in this episode. Obviously they are. I love that all of my episodes today that I've been block recording have all gone over. So everyone's like in a right
ringing up. Hey, can Jackson just stay for tea?
Do you know what though? I feel like I'm going to publish these all over the Christmas period.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Have some more time for an hour episode. That is what I'm going to do. I'm going to shake it up a bit. But I ask everybody, what would you tell yourself 10 years ago that you know now that you wish you'd known then?
To stay in your own lane. The path is really wiggly, but it's your path. That to stay in your own lane with your eyes forward, I would say. And I would say that. Oh, and I also wanted to say that I feel I'm privileged in my life, and definitely since having the children, I've really tried to look through with eyes of gratitude. I feel grateful for a lot, and I think that it pays forward. I think gratitude really pays forward. And don't worry about not wearing any makeup.
Don't be sorry for your face.
Oh God, I can't stand it when people say that on Instagram. I feel like, if somebody thinks, whoa, that's on them. That is not on you.
I am so much better than I used to be. I actually said about it recently.
There's nothing wrong with going on stories with a bit of makeup. That's fine. That's totally fine. But if you're going to go on, but saying like, oh, I'm so sorry about my face. Oh, guys. What world are we living in?
Yeah, it's our face. It's
exactly.
Our face. Yeah.
Although I did do the closed eyes filter trick on Buddy and Bob last night. Have you done that yet?
No, what's that?
On Jackson. It's on TikTok, and have a closed eye filter, and then they hold up how many fingers up behind you, but actually your eyes are open, but it looks like your eyes are closed. And then you say, oh, 5. And like Buddy was going off. He couldn't believe. I was like, I've been working on this for ages, Buddy. I've really been trying to do mind reading.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, and then he was like, actually, I think I've seen something on TikTok, and I was like, we were giggling. I said, he's going to like that this Christmas, Nana.
I love it. I'm going to try it on Dan first. Brilliant. Thanks so much, babe.
That's my pleasure.
I really appreciate it. So where can people find you if they've got a placenta or they need some skin help?
So if you're having a baby or you want to get in touch, see how placenta remedies might help you, I'm at the Placenta Connection on Instagram, or www.theplacentaconnection.co.uk. And if you want to talk to me about your skin, the skincare Instagram is like all over. It's not just my products. Talk about lots of different things, the issues people are dealing with, baby skin, that type of thing. It's at the _skincare connection and skincareconnection.co.uk.
Yeah, you did a live recently about different toners, which I really appreciated. And then when you lifted up the one I had, I was like, oh yeah, hello.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, exactly.
Thank God I'm using something that's all right.
Just as long as it's not like Clearasil anymore. We're past those days, guys, of white spirit on the face.
Basically, isn't it? Oh, thanks so much, Bo. Really appreciate it. I'll see you later. Thank you.
Soon. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to the No Rest for the Vivid podcast. Written, produced and hosted by Claire Hill, and music has been composed by my brother, Phil Vick.